Hi. About a month ago, I was listening to a video. A bunch of people were talking together, and there was one guy in particular who, I guess you could call him a bit of a magician, for a lack of better words, but he understands energy in his own ways, and he plays with energy a lot. And he sort of, from his point of view, he came to the realization that everything we've been doing in this universe since we've been here has been, we think that we have been building and building and building and always creating and always putting things together. But from his point of view, he sort of realized that actually it's the other way around. So he was saying that we think we've been building, we think that we've been creating, but actually what we're doing is we're tearing everything apart to see how it works. That was his words and his description of it. So he said, like, he'll go to work and he's a construction worker and he's putting things together and he's, not building buildings, but he's building all sorts of things all the time. And he thinks that he's constructing things, but actually he realized that energetically, or like from a universe perspective, what we're actually doing is we're tearing everything apart so we can understand how it all fits together, how it all works. And I didn't quite understand exactly what he meant, but just something about what he said just stuck to me, and I keep thinking about it over and over. And I think I'm going to try and rephrase it in a slightly different way, in a way that makes sense to me. And so for me, it's like when you create something, whether it's a computer system, whether it's a building in real life, whether it's a law or something tangible or non-tangible, whenever you're creating something, you're giving it structure, you're defining what it is, you're putting lots of pieces together, and you're building something that's got a lot of structure and definition, and you tend to, over time, put more layers on top of that. So you go, okay, well, this building is small and it's good, but let's add another level to it. And then you just build up from there, and the building gets taller and taller. Or you start off with a few laws, and you've got a country that's run and dictated, and it all fits together with laws. But then you go, okay, what about this situation? So you add another law, then you create another law, then the law just keeps getting more and more complex. The buildings get more complex, the world gets more complex, the systems get more complex. If you're creating a computer system, it gets ever more complex. You get all these layers sitting on top of layers, sitting on top of other layers. And sometimes someone will break down the underlying layers and improve them, and then reduce some of the other layers. But most of the time, what we're doing is we're just building systems that are ever more complex and with ever more structure and ever more definition. And when we do that, we effectively build, some people might call it a matrix. We're building a system in which there's just so much stuff everywhere. But what it does is it constrains. It constrains where you can go, what you can do, how things work. It constrains you to only be able to do things or operate within the confines of that system that you've built, with all its layers and all of its restrictions, and the layers on top of those and their restrictions, and how they work and how they fit together. So you end up building like a system that just becomes more and more restrictive. And so what you end up with is for example, a country in which people say we have lots of freedoms, but over time, as time goes on, what you're actually doing is, as you're building the country up and you're getting more and more stuff, more and more laws, more and more physical things, more and more people, the system becomes complex to the point where those freedoms that you thought you had get eroded away naturally, and people will try and fight and keep those freedoms retained, but it's just something that you just can't hang on to forever. Those those freedom to sort of do certain things just gets naturally eroded away by the fact that you're just building more things, and those things have restrictions about what you can and can't do. And so over time, like with technology or with other systems that we've built, we imposed laws upon ourselves, and people go, okay, well, I accept that law because it has this purpose, it has this reason for being, and even though they don't like necessarily all of it, they accept it, they allow it to be, and at that point in time, they're allowing those restrictions to be placed upon them, and so you end up with less and less freedom over time. So what I'm trying to say, I guess, is I'm expressing what that other guy said in a slightly different way. Basically, that as you build systems, whether it's a computer system, whether it's a physical construction that you do, or whether it's a set of laws, governance around how things work, over time things will necessarily get more complicated and complex, and people will try to avoid those complexities, but it's just something you can't avoid. As you build things get bigger, things get more complicated, and you have more restrictions what you can and can't do. So this place that we're living now is the result of, apparently, as we're told, thousands of years of humans doing stuff together, working together to build these systems, physical, law, mental systems even, all of these things, like how you think, how you act, how we talk, how we communicate, how we navigate. All of these things have become more and more restrictive over time, in my view. And so there may be things actually that magical things that we used to be able to do that seems magical now from our perspective, that may have actually just been natural things that were originally allowed, and we've actually just eroded those away to the point where we don't know that they exist, or if we even have the idea of what they are, people will not believe that they exist. So there may be things in existence, things that are possible, that we have prevented ourselves from experiencing, not because it's impossible, but because we've deliberately restricted ourselves in a way in which it's impossible within this environment, within this matrix, or this physicality, or this mental state, or whatever it is. You have all these layers upon layers upon layers which prevent you from actually experiencing all of those other possibilities that could technically be possible. Vanessa VA wrote a comment somewhere on someone's video, and I saw it yesterday, and it ties in with this point. And I don't, what if the world is just, what you actually need to do is remove the layers, and as you remove the layers from the system, you start to see more and more of what's actually possible. I'm paraphrasing big time, because I can't remember what she said exactly, but it was something along the lines of, we've just got so much on us, and waking up, or becoming more aware of this world that we're living in, or becoming adept to new dimensions or new concepts. Instead, it may just be a case of an awakening process, may simply be a case of letting go of some of the rules and restrictions, letting go of some of the systems that we've built, physical, mental, legal, technology, or otherwise. And as we let go of those things, we start to see things become more fluid, and things start to move around and have more flexibility, and allow us to the world. If you were to, I feel, and I've got this picture in my mind, I feel that if you could remove all of the layers, all of the things that we built, and just go back to the real base, you'd be left with like nothing but consciousness and just like maybe lights or sound, or just like the real basics. Like you just cut it all the way back to the real basics, and at that point it's almost like there's nothing that would be impossible. It's like whatever you could possibly dream would be possible. So in summary, I feel that perhaps what this guy said is right. I've just reworded it in a different way that makes sense to me, is that in this universe we've made everything so complicated here that we have restricted our ability to think clearly, see clearly, feel clearly, use our heart properly, to experience things properly, to experience our own story instead of a story that was pre-programmed and pre-written. We've restricted ourselves in so many ways, and so there may come a point where we realize this and we start to take all of these layers down, and what looks like destruction here may actually be the opposite. So we've been constructing. If we take those layers away, if we just remove those layers, it may actually free us up so much that anything is possible, that all of your dreams could come true.